What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cap Show. Super Bowl 59 was iconic. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out to Saquon Barkley. But I'm so excited for Jalen Hurts, who won MVP. Well deserved. We're talking about a guy that back in 2018, he was benched when he played at Alabama in the national championship game. Then Tua came in. So we look at Jalen Hurts and realize, wow, look at through the adversity of never giving up, just continuing to just never give up, the willpower. And I love Jalen Hurts for that, man. Being benched in 2018, and then we fast forward years later, down the line, he's a Super Bowl MVP. Look how his whole career panned it out compared to like Tua. Somebody like Tua right now. Not to knock on Tua. Tua's a great quarterback, but Tua's, battling injuries, looking terrible in some games where it's like, he's one hit away from, that's it. Like his career's going to be over with. And we look at Jalen Hurts and say, wow, bro, you were the backup to him. And look at you now. You're a Super Bowl MVP. You just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Not only beat the Chiefs, but you blew them out. 40-22. It was just an easy dub, really, for the Philadelphia Eagles. Up 24-0 at halftime. Jalen Hurts went crazy. 2 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. But still, Jalen Hurts, man, he always said money's nice, but championships are better. And he's right about that. He understands the longevity to be a great quarterback because his whole knock this year, and I even kind of knocked Jalen Hurts, and I was like, man, Jalen Hurts has not been looking the same when it comes to throwing the ball down the field, just kind of look inconsistent this year. But he caught wind in the playoffs. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith really helped him out in that way to where it's like, all right, bro, like let's not put all the blame strictly on Jalen Hurts because it's easy to do that. You're the quarterback, probably the hardest position in football, even though I do think cornerback is probably harder because you're out on an island, you're guarding a receiver, you don't know what route he's going to do. That's probably the hardest position in football. Then I would go quarterback and then probably running back or offensive line. One of those. But we look at the Philadelphia Eagles, man. I knew they would win. I tried to tell people it's nothing new. It's nothing new that I've seen all year. Philly had the better overall team in general. Yes, Patrick Mahomes, the better quarterback. But we look at Patrick Mahomes, and really he had a bad Super Bowl. 0 points in the first half. 3 touchdowns, which came late, really late in the game, and then 2 picks for Patrick Mahomes. Just not really a typical Patrick Mahomes type of game. Even though the rookie receiver, Xavier Worthy, went crazy for Kansas City, 157 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. D-Hop had a touchdown as well, which I thought that was kind of crazy because I was looking at the odds of anytime touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins was like plus 600. Like a week ago before the Super Bowl even started. So I was like, man, I think D-Hop can get in. We're talking DeAndre Hopkins here, an icon, been in the NFL for years, like really experienced receiver. He did score late in the fourth quarter, but we look at this whole quarter, man, just the whole Super Bowl was great for me, obviously because I went heavy on the Philadelphia Eagles. Trump was there, America's back. It was great. And even though I didn't really watch the halftime show with Kendrick Lamar, a lot of people were hating on it, saying it wasn't that good of a halftime show. I don't know. I can't really say because I didn't watch it, but, there's some good music that Lamar produces and has out, so I don't knock Lamar whatsoever. Mad City's one of my favorites albums with the minivan in front. So shout out to Lamar. It's kind of crazy. Kendrick, man, shout out to Kendrick Lamar. I think he's a great icon for the music industry. But people, are going to hate regardless who you are. They really are. But this is the Super Bowl, man. It's entertainment. What's big for business? And I realized looking at Kansas City this year, basically all year, how did they get to the Super Bowl? Well, they got to the Super Bowl not just off sheer talent and capability and coaching. They got there from having calls go their way. Let's just be honest here. Let's call a spade a spade. In many playoff games, you start with the Houston Texans. They had many calls in that game where you're like, really, bro? Like, how is that a roughing the passer? They threw a flag on Houston. That changed the whole momentum of the game. Like that, just one flag, 15-yard automatic first down. This is 3rd and long, and Patrick Mahomes gets tackled. It gets barely hit, and he's looking for the flag, and you're in Kansas City, they're going to throw it. That's just one example, and that was their first matchup in the playoffs against the Houston Texans. So, and then we go to the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Buffalo Bills, you could clearly see that the refs were favoring the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen would run, and it looked like they got the first down. They didn't give it to him, and all the runs, really, for the Buffalo Bills always came up a yard or two short from really where the spot of the ball was supposed to be at. And I'm like, are they, like, is this real life? Like, Vegas is calling in, and they want Kansas City in the Super Bowl, but the cream rises to the top. And that just shows you right here where it's like, hey, Kansas City, you guys were not going to three-peat. It's never happened in the NFL. What makes you think KC's going to three-peat? It wasn't going to happen. And I get it. All the KC fans out there, they went heavy. They went heavy on Patrick Mahomes. You know, a lot of sports bettors going into the casinos betting tens of thousands of dollars on Kansas City money line. And I'm just looking at it from a different perspective where it's like, who has the better overall defense? That is Philly. Who has the better overall defensive line? That's Philly. Overall, we're talking just one side of the ball. Defense wins championships. Philly already automatically has that edge right there. So give me Philly from just that perspective, and not to mention offensive-wise. Who has the better offense? And that's the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Devontae Smith. You got A.J. Brown. You got the best running back in the league. Shout out to Saquon, bro. Just broke Terrell Davis's record for yards rushing in the season and in the playoffs. He had over 2,500 rushing yards. Shout out to Saquon. I thought he should have won regular season MVP. They gave it to Josh Allen. But it just, you know, it's kind of political in a way. Like, obviously, Barkley was the best player in the NFL this year. No doubt about it. Like, they didn't even play him the last game of the regular season. So, like, really, he could have had 2,600 rushing yards. Like, that's insane, dude. Shout out to Saquon, a beast. You know, honestly, the best running back in the league. 100% this year, he was by far. And I can't wait. Come fantasy football, you know, in August, September, Saquon is definitely going top 3. There's no doubt about it. If Saquon does not go top 3, something is wrong because he should go top 3. He really should. We're talking talent-wise, just his ability to make people miss, and he can truck you. So many different things, man. He's really just a freak of nature. He really is. And we saw that at Penn State. So shout out to Saquon Barkley. And it was his birthday, too. He turned, I think, 28 years old yesterday. And shout out to Cooper DeJean as well. It was his birthday. He had a pick 6 for a tutty. Shout out to Cooper, man, putting on for the white boys out there. Not too many white cornerbacks in the league. Cooper had a pick 6 against Mahomes, and it was awesome. It was awesome. LeBron, please show your boy some love one time for the one time, man. Shout out to Coop, man. But like I said, the most I'm proud of is Jalen Hurts, man. He could have gave up back in 2018 when they benched him in the national championship game. And then he transfers to Oklahoma. And then, you know, the rest is history. And we look at the whole dynamics of just never giving up in life, man. And Jalen Hurts is that example right there, where Jalen Hurts could have, you know, right then and there in 2018 at that moment when Coach Saban said, hey, you're out of the game. Like, we're going to bench you now. And Jalen Hurts is like, man, really? Everything I put in this year, you know, all the hard work in the weight room, I feel like Jalen Hurts kind of felt like, you know, really he was being used in a way. Like, he kind of got taken for granted, so to speak. And now all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts used that for fuel. He transferred to Oklahoma. Now all of a sudden, he's the Super Bowl champion, and he's the Super Bowl MVP. I love it for Jalen Hurts. This is great. It's an unbelievable story. It's great for Philly. And I can't wait, man. Super Bowl 59 was awesome. I loved it. And I do think, what are the chances of Philly repeating? Like, for Super Bowl 60, what are the chances? And honestly, if they keep the same team around them, build off their defense, if they keep the same offensive players, keep A.J. Brown, keep Devontae Smith, keep those key guys that you need for Jalen Hurts, maybe improve your offensive line, and I think, honestly, Philly could very well repeat. You know, there's already people putting money down right now on Philly to win Super Bowl 60, which is pretty crazy already. And the season hasn't even started yet for Philly for next year. So it's going to be, you know, up and down. But a lot of people want off Kansas City repeating back-to-back years in 2023 and 2024. You know, they beat Philly in 2023, which Philly had that game, really. They really did. And then Kansas City beats San Francisco in overtime. Like, that's just how it goes sometimes. But I just always thought that Kansas City was honestly just was not built for the championship caliber to win another one, to three-peat. They just weren't, bro. I'll tell you straight up. That's just how it was, because I've seen all year Kansas City this whole season. If you look at their season, they're winning games. Yes, that's great. That's what it is in the NFL, is to win games ultimately. But the way they were winning games, like they beat Las Vegas Raiders, barely beat them, you know, by a lucky field goal. You know, there's just so many dynamics where KC got bailed out a lot of times this season. And it's like, well, you know, come Super Bowl, you know, you're playing against the best of the best right now. You're playing against a great great run team in Saquon and the Eagles that can throw the ball as well, and you're going against the number one defense in the NFL, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. So, like, everything made sense to bet on Philly. I just think, fade the public is what they say when it comes to sports betting. You got to fade the public. You cannot go with what everybody, Joe Blow and your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, all these other people, relatives, your best friends. You can't just say, oh, the KC's going to win because they're going to win. Like, did you watch the whole regular season, what they did this year? They were barely squeaking by. Really. And Houston had opportunities to beat them, the first game of the playoffs this year. And they got a lot of calls in their way. So, like, for me, it just made sense to the cream rises to the top, man. And Philly had a bitter taste in their mouths from 2 years ago, losing in the Super Bowl. They lost by 3. And really, they lost from a ticky-tack. Should have been a non-contact call whatsoever, but they called the PI. And then, Kansas City wins the Super Bowl by 3 points. Just like that. So they understood it. Jalen Hurts understood, what that feeling was of losing a Super Bowl like that by 3 points, 35-38 back in 2023. He understood that. And he said, man, let's run it back here in 2025. We're not only going to win, but we're going to run right through the Kansas City Chiefs and show them that we're the team to beat now. We are the champions here. 40. I mean, it was 24-0 at half. And people were like, it's over. And I was like, hold up, pump your brakes. We remember back in, 2017 when Tom Brady played against Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta's up 28-3. They come back and win in overtime in that Super Bowl. One of the greatest comebacks, the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. Shout out to Tom Brady, the GOAT, 7-time champion. But we look at this game, and it was a blowout. They just controlled the whole game. I knew they were going to win, especially when Mahomes threw a second pick before halftime. It was just like, wow. Cooper had the pick 6. I mean, I'm telling you what, man, I love that Philly won. I think it's good for Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's good for the state. I really do. I think it's good for the city of Philadelphia, great for Pennsylvania. I love that. I think it's great for the whole organization for Philly because they won in the drafts the past 2 years. They got Jalen Carter, who should have been a number 1 overall pick talent-wise, a top 3 guy. He slipped to 9th or 10th in 2023? And then it's crazy. Then last year they get Cooper, they get Mitchell, they get these guys, man, and they know how to play ball. They really do, and they understood. Philly understands, hey, defense wins championships. We're going to draft defense, and we already got the best running back in the league in Saquon over the offseason because the New York Giants fumbled the biggest bag in the history of the NFL. You're going to fumble him? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, bro. How are you going to fumble Saquon Barkley? Like, it just does not make sense. Who paid the Giants, general manager, the high-ups in New York, where you're going to think to trade him? Like, we're talking about a generational type of player here, generational talent. You're not going to see a guy like Saquon for years to come. And you're going to let him go, Giants? No wonder you haven't won since Eli Manning. You guys are trash. You guys are insanely trash to just fold Barkley. I mean, Barkley right now, he's probably still partying, and he's probably thinking, hey, thank you, New York Giants. I'm with a better team, a better organization, an organization that treats me better than the New York Giants ever did. So, like, it just made sense. Saquon, literally, first year in Philly, wins the Super Bowl. Should have won, yes, he won Offensive Player of the Year, but really should have won regular season MVP. We're talking about a guy that rushed for over 2,000 yards, did it all. Even they do the tush push as well with Jalen Hurts, and that took away probably about 8 touchdowns from Saquon alone right there. So, Saquon really, dude, we're talking about a guy that could, maybe even hit 3,000 yards, which sounds insanely impossible, right? Like, there's probably no way, Cap, that's Cap, but I'm telling you, we're talking about a guy, 3,000 yards in the regular season and in the playoffs. It is possible if Saquon does it, and we could maybe see it. Obviously, hit 2,500 yards, over 2,500 yards. It's probably a long shot to hit 3,000, but, Saquon, man, he's just a once-in-a-generational talent, and when the Philly got him over the offseason, I said, look out for Philly. If Philly runs deep in the playoffs, get some luck, they played the LA Rams in the snow, I think the Rams could have beat Philly if they didn't play in Philadelphia with the snow. But, hey, home field advantage is definitely real, and that's what happened, and Philly won it, man. So shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles winning Super Bowl 59. I loved it. What a season it was for the NFL. Had some highs and lows, missed some games here and there. You're not going to win every sports bet, but what I've learned from this season, the 2024-2025 season, was fade the public. Don't go with what the public says because, 70% of the people are on Kansas City. Even the ESPN analysis, all them heavy on Kansas City. Everybody, Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City. You know, but you got to look deeper into it and realize Kansas City was frauds all year. Travis Kelce didn't show up, sold out for Pfizer. You know, Travis Kelce did not have a great game in the Super Bowl with his girl T Swift in attendance. Like, no show. It was a complete disaster for Kansas City, man. It was a reality check for them. It was a slap in the face. And can we see a rematch? Yes, absolutely. I cannot wait, man. But, dude, it's going to be amazing. Super Bowl 59 was iconic. I can't wait for the regular season coming up this year. It's the NFL. It's the Clown with Cap show. Let's go!